Hello, Global Theater. My name is Jerry Fielka. Today is May 2, 2025. Want to thank Rob Grant and his amazing podcast. I'm probably wrong about everything. Also want to thank I also want to thank our common interest in Frank Zappa and drums to welcome today's guest, Andy Sanesi. Where in the heck you calling in from, Andy?
Hey, Jerry, thanks for having me. Excuse me, my voice is a little hoarse. I am in an undisclosed location in Santa Monica, California, uh, probably a couple miles away from where you are. I'm at my little lair, L Studio, and happy to be here. Appreciate you asking me on.
Thank you so much. First question is, what is the best thing for a human being?
The best thing for a human being, in my opinion, it is an amalgamation of multiple things, which is I consider the best thing for a human being to do is to be kind and be tolerant and be nice and take care of your family and work and exercise and don't do drugs or drink or smoke and try to be cool and try to be understanding and empathetic. So that.
Dude, that's one of the best answers I have ever. Because
Hi,
my
Susie.
yeah, Susie's laughing. She knows all those things resonate.
All the opposite thing.
I love you.
You know, the first word is kind, and I appreciate that a lot, Andy. That's really good. Okay, what's your favorite form of information? How it comes into you?
Well, to fully honest, I'm 51 years old, and I think that the device that everyone has in their pocket, for better or worse, is the one that is the most resonant with me. I pretty much consume all media through my phone or an iPad. I haven't had cable or TV, that I've in my home for, I don't know, 15 years. It's just all on the phone or an iPad or computer. So,
Why do you think humans collect or gather information?
well, the funny thing, it's interesting that you asked that, because as I get older and I have more clarity, not to go too deep into it, but I've been on a path of trying to better myself for approximately the last year and a half, and I've been, I haven't been drinking, and I've been, exercising and maintaining a good lifestyle to the best of my ability, and I can't cram the information into my head fast enough because.
Whoa, just went.
Sorry,
Oh, that's all right.
I should put my phone on airplane mode. Hold on a second. Is that?
I never had the screen black out that quick, but that was cool. Yeah, the airplane mode, that is cool. So go ahead. Yeah, you were saying.
The point I was making is that I feel like I'm making up for a lot of lost time. No matter, I'm overeducated for a musician, but I also have other endeavors that require brain power. So, getting back to your original point, I consume all my media, mostly a lot of it through YouTube, and I read a lot, different news outlets, and also the ability to hear all my heroes. And now they're even colorizing some of the old black and white videos. It's just like, I want to go off on a Papa Joe Jones trip today, and then this endless videos and all this. Incredible. So for me, the fact that I'm talking to you and seeing you, it's like, bro, it's like the Jetsons. I mean, it's straight up like we're living in the future.
Right, bro.
And it's not lost on me. I think it's an absolute miracle.
Yeah.
Louis C.K. does this bit about like being on a plane the first time that they ever had Wi-Fi, and like they turn it on, and like some guy next to him is like, "This Wi-Fi sucks," and he's like Louis C.K. is like, "You're flying through space at 650 miles an hour, and they just had Wi-Fi today for the first time. It's not fast enough for you." It's like a little bit of perspective might go.
But is this need or want to collect information more innate or more invented?
That's an excellent question. I don't know. I don't know if it's for me now. Yeah, and I don't even know. I don't know what drives it, because I'm just I'm so thirsty for it, and for better or worse. And it's also I say for better or worse because it's hard to know if the information you're getting is accurate or good, because there's so much there's as much misinformation out there as there is good information.
Yeah.
But is it a want or a need? I think it's a combination. I think, the in my estimation, binary things like yes or no, or night or day, black white, whatever. Uh, I'm not really interested in binary anything. It's just like
Right. That's that. Just
there's
to
so
set
much
it
nuance.
up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so much nuance. So I think it's a combination
Yeah.
of wanting and needing.
Yeah. But again, some of my early questions are that is it more this or more that? This one woman goes, the word more doesn't function in your question. These are just prompts because I'm not
Sure.
trying to get you, but I have to go back
Really.
because it went by so fast. Do you know there's a picture of Frank Zappa jamming with Papa Joe Jones in a Downbeat magazine?
I was not aware of that.
It is like so incredible because when we were first hearing Frank and everybody's like rock, 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 it's like, hey, he's in Downbeat with Papa Joe Jones. I mean, come on, that's
Yeah,
amazing.
yeah,
So,
amazing.
do thoughts create emotions?
They can. They certainly can.
Yeah.
Uh, you know, in regards to creativity or day-to-day life, or changing your mindset, you can put yourself in a different place. I definitely think you could put yourself in a different place by going inside, your mind, and thinking about something and having that prompt and then elicit a real emotional response. There's a story that I was listening to recently on a podcast about, whether you believe it or not is irrelevant. There was a very religious person that was visiting a holy site. I believe it was a Christian, or like a post Christ Christian type situation, like maybe around the year 1000 or 1200, where the person um, uh, levitated, which you commonly hear more in regards to Eastern religions. There's a lot of stories of people. Sometimes I go to the Self Realization Fellowship up on Sunset, which is Paramahamsa Yogananda's beautiful
Yeah.
garden temple. And there's stories in Autobiography of a Yogi, which is a book that I believe everyone should read, where he talks about yogis doing these incredible feats, of levitating and things like that. Now, that's a physical manifestation of something that you can get to via thought, or is it the thought? Is it you getting to such a deep place and believing in something so vigorously that something happens to you where you're able to, and also, I don't know, this is beyond my wheelhouse, but it's interesting to think about, thinking about, something like gravity, or velocity, or how, like, when you're in a really fast car and you take off, it pushes you back to the seat. You know what I mean? Things like that. So there's a concept of maybe being able to manipulate certain things like that through deep meditation or thought. It's beyond me because I'm not that deep, but I love to hear about stuff like that because it's just fascinating. I'm kind of like, for lack of a better person to for lack of a better metaphor, I'm kind of like Joe Rogan, and like I'm kind of like an ignorant brute, but I'm like just interested in stuff. So I'll talk to anyone about anything, literally, not just people in my echo chamber. I want to know
Yeah.
what's, I don't, I can't play a lick of classical, violin, but I'll listen to it all day long. Or I can't play tabla, but Zakir Hussain is as big as influence on me as, any other musician, because,
No, Andy, this is exactly why I do this for 40 years, interview people. So you nailed it. But you know who went to that center on Sunset Boulevard to that's Elvis Presley. Went there to meditate.
love it. Love
Yeah.
Elvis.
And,
I love
and
Elvis.
our friend who's seen you play many times, Eric Dugdale, his dad built that place.
Amazing.
It is.
It's a really special place.
It is.
And there's other, unfortunately, because of the recent fires that no one's talking about anymore, because, like a cat with a fucking laser pointer. Oh, look over here now.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we can't access that incredible place that, I mean, I went through the whole phase of being an angry young man, and like, oh, I'm agnostic and I'm atheist. And it's just like, hey man, like, I don't know, when the quest for spirituality and the quest for trying to find whatever you want to call a higher power, whether it resonates with you or not. I go to that place and
Yeah.
I feel extreme comfort. And that's a lyric. That's a Neil Young lyric.
It's
From
called breathing also. What you're talking about is exactly what I try to do, conscious breathing, be in the present. So fill in the blank, Andy. I don't know what I think until
I don't know what I think until I don't know what I think until I see, hear, taste, touch, smell for myself.
five senses. That's really good because McLuhan said, I don't know what I think until I say it. Joan Didion says, I don't know what I think until I write it. So that five, that's perceptual. I don't what also a lot of people put it, I don't know what I think until I experience it in the five senses. That's perception. So really good. Can humans think without language?
Yes.
Very good.
100%.
Yeah.
Just put yourself in a caveman or woman's shoes. And the first time you come upon the aurora borealis,
Yeah.
as a teen
Yeah.
cave. So like Pebbles, Flintstone, and Bam Bam are on their first date and they go out for a walk, right? And they look up and they see the aurora borealis and they're just grunting because they can't speak. But boy, I bet they're thinking about some stuff.
Andy, you are so perfect for this because I'm having fun, but I'm learning a lot. And this is Chomsky. Language is not just words, it's a culture, a tradition, a unification of community, a whole history that creates what a community is. What do you do when language doesn't work? When language breaks down, what do you do?
Play the drums.
That is good.
Also, though, to further extrapolate on that point, a lot of the time as I get older, I try, and it's really difficult for me being a opinionated alpha psychotic Italian type. I'm trying to not talk more.
Oh my God.
It's really tough because I have a lot of opinions and some of them are quite unpopular, but
Yeah.
it's I have to also think about the fallout from my actions a
Yeah.
little bit more now being a father. um you know I would never want to do or say anything intentionally that would undermine or
Yeah.
potentially influence someone's opinion of my daughter. And ultimately, again, like I said earlier, like um I'm just like and I'm not trying to be like virtuous or anything. Like I'm just truly interested in all sides
Yeah.
of the story. So like you reference Noam Chomsky, who's an absolute intellectual, juggernaut. Over the years and decades, I've been, reading and listening to a lot of what Noam Chomsky's had to say. And, I agree with a lot of it. I don't agree with all of it. And that's
Yeah.
okay. You know what I
That's
mean?
okay. Exactly. Well, this is really fun because Pascal, the mathematician philosopher, says in order to understand anything, you have to know this end of the spectrum and that and everything in between. So you're a comprehensivist. You want to get the big picture. And so and you said it all. You don't have to apologize for being arrogant and that. You said it in the first two words, kindness and family. That's it, man. Dude, you're a perfect human, in my opinion. And a
I,
pretty
I,
and a pretty
all
good drummer.
I'm just striving to progress. I'm not trying to be perfect,
Yeah,
but
but also, you are one of the things I was most proud of curating at Sponto Gallery was, Rondo had an experience, me, you, and Khalil. But one of the other things was you gave a Latin drumming workshop at Sponto one night.
did
Did
I?
you know you did? That was amazing.
Wow.
That was cool. Okay, so
Is there any video evidence of that?
I don't think there is, but you wouldn't believe how the archival tape of us on one of our TV shows, Susie and I just popped up out of the blue from the country of India because the person on the show played Indian music, and somehow his whiz kid tech son transferred a VHS that we lost and he kept, and you can see it on our channel. It's unbelievable. But here, your observations of humans in general. Are we more thinking beings or more feeling beings?
Again, and I'm not saying this is no reflection on
Yeah.
your questioning. It's either or, neither nor. It's a
Yeah.
combination. My
Yeah.
opinion, again, just a
Yeah.
combination. You know? I think some people are more prone to emotional responses.
Yeah.
You know, and also, you know, again, for yet maybe likely another unpopular opinion, I feel that. Yeah, okay, so here's what I can equate it with. I think that men and women are fundamentally different, and I think that women, in general, you know, you're misogynist. I think women are slightly more emotional than men, and I think maybe men could stand to be a little bit more emotional.
Yeah.
However, I say that in Santa Monica, where it's probably less skewed than in, say, perhaps Bozeman, Montana. You know.
Yeah.
Uh, However, there are differences. Whether you can hear them, taste them, touch them, or see them, they are there. We
Yeah.
can't. You know, I am of the opinion that, you know, men can't have babies. I know some people think that they can, and that's fine. But
You know, so
to equate it to drumming. So you know,
yeah.
there's all these variations, and there's endless variations that you could do this, that, and the other thing. So, but a lot of the variations are predicated on three main things. You have singles, right, left, 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 or you can start with your left hand, but it's the same thing. Or you have doubles, two per hand, right, right, left, left, right,
Yeah.
and then you could have them hitting almost together, which are called flams that sound like tra tra, kind of, you know. So
One FLEM,
everything
FL, F,
FLA F
FLAM.
yeah. So
Wow.
most of the other, all of the other rudiments are comprised of, you know, variations
Yeah.
and different rhythmic rates to make the all of the other rudiments, but you're dealing with those three fundamental things. So man, I
Oh, it's
got
good, Andy. What you said was important. Let me follow up because
yeah,
you're
sure.
going into a lot of questions we're going to get into. But see, we humans invent, first of all, most people answer that question. I think we're more feeling beings. They literally say that. Well, that tells you something right there. I think we're
Yeah,
more feeling beings.
sure.
And we invented the words thinking and feeling, and we think that we can separate them, but they're too integrated, just as you said. It
Yeah,
depends on the context and all that. But Bridget Bardot says, when I make love, I don't think. And I'm like, good luck. How do you turn your brain off? It's like people who meditate. Like, okay, now think about not thinking. And last one is, there's a car on my street with a bumper sticker and it says, don't believe everything you think. And I'm like, well, you could say, don't believe everything you feel.
yeah. You definitely could. Either are valid.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, you know, just don't believe everything you feel. There's the old adage of, like, you put a frog in a pot of water, and
Yeah.
it gradually increases this, you know, it's not going to know that it's boiling. And then if the water's already boiling, you throw it in, you know, so that's, yeah.
Yeah. Very good. Two questions from Alan Turing in the 50s. One, is thinking a function of the soul?
Ooh, that's a really good one. Is thinking a function of the soul? Uh, I don't, I don't think that it's mutually exclusive. Um, Thinking a function of the soul. I think that you're, no matter what, I think your soul kind of remains not un. This is a tough one, man, but it's a really good one. Anything that hangs you up is worth getting hung up on.
Yes.
Um,
Wow.
so I'm not. Yeah, I don't. I'm not. I don't want to let myself off the hook on this. I think that you're born with your soul, you know, and I know this. I feel I know almost factually. You know, not to get too macabre, but like when I was in the room when my father passed, The first time I saw it was when I saw my grandmother. I went to visit her after ex post facto, before she was to be crude in the ground. And I was like, oh, that's not her. That's just the shell. So the soul, I believe, definitely exists. We're just like a meat suit, and it's transient. I don't know what happens before or after. I have, things that I like to comfort myself with or think, or things that have been drilled into me from childhood, that I'm somewhat revisiting from time to time. But yeah, I think the soul is definitely a thing. What it's just nomenclature. Like that's what we call the spirit that gives the tangible meat suit that we're wearing for typically approximately about 75 years or so. It gives it animation. There's definitely some kind of electromagnetic thing that goes on, some energy that we maybe don't know what to call it, but the soul, in my opinion, exists. Now, again, I'm trying to the point that I'm currently circumlocuting to get this
to get this text on TV.
Yeah, excellent question. I think you're born with your soul, and it basically is what it is. I think it has regenerative qualities to it because you can poke holes into it and make it turn into like what looks like maybe perhaps a blanket of Swiss cheese over your body by like doing terrible things. But if you acknowledge the wrongs that you did and do your best to kind of try to somehow make amends for it, or if you actually do change. I mean, there's certain things that are maybe soul sucking, the more extreme version of soul sucking. I'm over intellectualizing the question.
No, it's good. Andy, you did great, because a lot of people, I ask that question, they go, well, it depends on what you mean by the soul. I'm like, give me a break. We kind of have a feeling of what the soul word means. Like Lily Tomlin says, reality is just a collective hunch. There's a collective hunch of what we mean by the soul. And what you did was go into defining that in regards to thinking. The second Turing question is, can machines think?
We're getting closer. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if this was even a glint in his eye in the 50s, but man, I'm crippled by thought, because of my lack of intellectualism or intellectuality, whatever the correct way to phrase that is, whatever the correct conjugation is. I'm crippled by it because I'm thinking about AI, and actually, I don't know if we're going to touch on it, but there's certain parts of AI that, oh, AI is going to be amazing and it's going to be able to do this and that. It's like I'm I'm counting on AI to do something in a kind of on a selfish level for musicians in general. But okay, so I do think eventually that AI will be able to have original thoughts. I think that's coming. Whether you want to refer to that as a singularity or not. Some people say it's already happened. Some people have estimated that it was going to happen approximately like in the 2030s. Some people say it's already in the rearview mirror, and it's perhaps exponential, and it might turn into Terminator, and they're going to be hunting us and all the things, or it could be like the Matrix, or maybe the aliens that have been popping up on the news and stuff started to already just go off the rails, and we're talking about aliens. But like maybe we're being harvested. Maybe they're visiting our planet because they want to mine our minerals. It's endless tangents that we can go off on regarding all this stuff. But yeah, I mean, I think that AI will definitely start to be able to produce original, unique
Yeah.
thoughts because you know once Gary Kasparov played Deep Blue
Yeah.
way when, and it was very challenging and all that. Magnus, the current best chess wizard on earth, he's like, yeah, my phone kicks my ass daily, and it's over. Now
Man,
that being
you
said,
get it, Andy. This is good.
that being said,
Yeah.
I just want to get to my point real quick, and then it's back to the Jerry Fialka show. I think that AI is already being used for music and background cooking shows and nature documentaries and stuff like that, because no one's going to hire a composer when they could just say make some peaceful music for the you know, the sub-Saharan Africa nature show that we're doing. Boom, it's done. You don't have to think. You don't have to pay. It's done. However, AI music's going to infiltrate to consumers, and they're going to have a Spotify playlist. It's going to sound like all the things they like it to sound like, and eventually people are going to get not bored out of their skull, because I believe it's going to be good eventually, but I think people are going to want a human experience, and it's going to harken back to like, let's go see actual humans playing music, for better or worse.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's the whole thing. Music, live music is the essence of music. That's the ritual. And I will go into that when we get to music, but there's something direct. That was a great tangent that I can bring up. And first of all, the AI is in its early stage, and it's our job to raise it well. It's just another tool. So we're raising it well. But I want to tell you, 2 blocks from your house at the Santa Monica Farmers Market, I met the guy who invented the bumper sticker, "Drum machines have no soul." and I had a great discussion with him. And I says, dude, that's like saying a chair has no soul. I think what you wanted to say was, according to my aesthetic, some uses of the drum machine have no soul. And he goes, that's too long for a bumper sticker. Because we know, if you see the new Sly Lives movie, and you know that Miles played in time to his band for 30 minutes over and over, Sly used a drum machine with a real drummer. So it's like you integrate. It's like it's not one thing, like you said, binary. Yeah. So do you more pursue happiness or more pursue meaning?
I mean, sorry to sound like a broken record, but that's that's a good one too. It's not as challenging as the last one. I'm gonna say again both, or ambos en español. But my point is, I think it's more of a ratio of the pursuit. I don't Pursuing meaning generates happiness for me.
Yeah.
You know, I hate to sound like one of those people. It's just so beaten into the ground, and everyone's different. But as soon as my daughter, came out, man, that was it for me. Like I still get misty about it. Like that was the best moment of my life. You know, nothing compares to that. You know, that one thing gave me meaning. You know, just that. You know, so.
How old is she now?
I'm Italian. I get emotional.
Dude, how old is she now?
14.
Yeah, because look at, if the person I'm interviewing tears up or I tear up, that's when I know it's really working. That's what I'm about. So don't worry. My mom said that crying is good for you emotionally release wise, but also it's getting toxins out of your body. Yeah. So talk about science. But
I'm with that. You know, that's a funny thing, is like my love is the thing that can get me misty, you know. Everything else, you know, all the things that typically make people cry, not to sound like a tough guy, because I'm not, but like, you know, when my father passed, when my sister passed, you know, 14 years ago, I of course I was devastated, but I can compartmentalize it. My sister, not to go too dark, but like when my daughter, when my wife was pregnant with my daughter, we were up at Mammoth I was doing a gig with Greg Perret and Keith Jones, and my sister had glioblastoma, and my dad called me 5 minutes before we had to start playing and told me the news, and it was just like 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, do the job. And I was, you know, I was in my head thinking about my sister, who I still think about every day. But I, for whatever reason, better or worse, again, I can compartmentalize it. I wish that on no one. It was the worst / best year of my life, because I lost my sister, and then 3 months later, my daughter was born, and it was like my daughter's birth was the antidote. Not that I ever got over it. No, it's like, not to quote Billy Bob Thornton, but Billy Bob Thornton had his brother died, and he said, "Part of me will never be okay. Part of me will always be sad." And it's the same thing with me. I related so much to that quote because
Yeah.
your siblings would want you to not shake it off and get on with it and live your life to the fullest. So anyway, I didn't expect to go there, but
But that is what I have. That whole thing is, can you forget to die? I'll ask you that somewhere down the line. But people don't die. She lives on by part of me will never be okay. That's putting a value judgment. Okay. Part of me will never forget her and have her part of me is what you're saying. That's beautiful. But I got the question from Viktor Frankl's book, Man's Search for Meaning. He says, happiness doesn't tend to last, meaning tends to last. What's your take on that?
I think he's right. It's a great book. I mean, I remember the reading it. It's probably about probably about 15 or 20 years ago. I read that, and just having purpose and having meaning. I don't know if I think it is more important than happiness. I think happiness is wonderful. I think it's overrated. Not overrated. I think it's overvalued.
Yeah.
I think that you should feel all of the emotions. I think that you should be happy. I think that you should feel sad. I think that you should feel angry. I think that you should feel scared. All of the things. Hopefully the proportions are, mostly happy. It's like the food pyramid, which was a fucking lie. Sorry. But it's like upside down, you like, what used to be the most, which is like, eat tons of carbohydrates and it's like, okay, no. But the point is like, you want to mostly be happy and be like anxious as little as possible, although you're going to be anxious. You're going to get mad. Like, it's that movie, that animated movie for kids, Inside Out. It's kind of, I don't know if it's Disney, but I have my feelings.
But it's you evoke the great George Clinton, who said, when I asked him, can anger be a productive emotion? He says, all emotions can be productive and non-productive. So that's what you were saying so well. But does the brain more detect consciousness or create it? Like, is consciousness there bubbling away and we're more so detecting it or more so creating it?
That's above my pay grade, pal.
What's your hunch, though, Andy?
No, I'm going to give it to you, but it's such an amazing thing to contemplate, man. There's I often quote music, and it's just so funny to me that I'm about to quote Fiona Apple.
Oh my God! She lives next to Beyond Baroque.
Oh, nice. Cool. But on her second record that had that title that was like as long as War and Peace, When the Pawn, and then it's like goes on for another, like Pie, it kind of never ends. But anyway, there's this one song, about one of the men that ruined her. I'm kidding. I mean, she's incredible and she's not ruined, but so he said to her, he said, "It's all in your head." And she said, "So's everything," but he didn't get it. It's like, that's kind of what I immediately thought of. Like, it's like consciousness is like my consciousness. You feel like everything's emanating from behind your eyes, like you open your eyes, conscious, you go to sleep, you're unconscious, but there's all this chaos and crazy dreams and stuff going on. But when you wake up in the morning, that's really it. And I don't, for me, what you see is what you get, like what I hear is what I perceive. It's going back to all five senses. My perception of consciousness is my perception of consciousness. I don't know what your perception of consciousness is. I bet it's wonderful. And that's what's great. It's like we're, we're not the bad version of this. We're the good version. We're snowflakes. We're all unique. We're all unique snowflakes. Yeah. Not in the, oh my God, you triggered me, so I need to go and suck my thumb in the corner kind of snowflake triggering. But like, no, we're all unique people. Which
totally, and he's so good, because I have to tell you, if you read the New Yorker article on Fiona, she was raped in Harlem when she was a teenager, and as she was being raped by a black man, she had run through her head, how can I deal with this? And I'm going to believe it's Jimi Hendrix who's fucking me. So shit, what in May? I was like, what do? You go, well, is it going to be Barry White, Al Green? No, Jimmy.
Not to laugh
but
at
I
that
mean,
circumstance,
what a way.
That's a motherfucker way to deal with it.
I mean, what a way to deal with it. And then that's what is, perception and consciousness. So what's faster, speed of light or speed of thought?
Thought.
Yeah. There's no right or wrong answer.
Not how I just answered, because I had to think. but yeah, I would hasten to say thought.
But there's no right or wrong answers, but that one you got right, Andy. Okay, this is a poet. Audre Lorde said you can't dismantle the master's house using the master's tools. Yvonne Rainer, her colleague, said, oh, you can if you expose the tools. What new tool do you suggest? And it doesn't have to be tangible, just to put it in perspective, and it doesn't have to be new. It's basically what tool do you gravitate towards. You can apply it, put it in the context of dismantling the master's house if you want.
Just trying to run the question through my head again.
Yeah, there's no hurry. If you read my pre-things, silence is okay.
Well, as my boss and I have sang and played to millions of people at this point, silence is golden. So
yeah.
I'm gonna say, what tool that can we bring to the to the fight of dismantling the master's house without using the master's tools?
Yeah.
I'm going to. It's not going to be like some incredible sage-like answer to make us go in another direction, because it's a really specific kind of intellectual gymnastic operation we're trying to perform here. I'm gonna say the specific tool that you could bring to dismantle the master's house without. It's his house.
Well, that's she's a poet, so it's
I understand the metaphor.
It's a metaphor, but that's how she says it.
The actual verbiage is house.
House, exactly.
I'm gonna say, well, I'm gonna go with an emotion. I'm gonna say anger.
Yeah, wow, that is heavy. Because people say empathy, they say compassion, they say imagination, they say creativity, but anger, that's amazing. So that was good. And what toy do you suggest? Same question, because I asked the tool question, and then someone goes, well, what about a toy? And I goes, yeah. So I've added it. Now, what toy do you gravitate towards, or what? Same question.
Okay, just for a little bit of insight into my thought process, like, oh, we're trying to break something down. It's just like you could do it on numerous levels. But you know what? The kid that sees the other kid playing with the toy blocks and just runs through it like Godzilla. That's kind of my thought process on that. Now, what toy? Oh, that's a good one. I'm gonna say cat's cradle.
Wow, that is cool.
Because you could do a lot of things with string.
Yes. You know who one of
Also,
my ultimate heroes is a guy named Harry Smith, and he changed music in America big time. He's the guy who took bootlegs of country music and spawned Bob Dylan and Joan Baez and a million other people. But look him up. Harry Smith's an unbelievable guy. And he went to experimental filmmaker. He did so many things. He went to the southwest states like Arizona, New Mexico,
hmm?
and purposely got busted in these jails so that he could learn cat's cradle exercises with the drunken Mexican guys. He said, that's where I can learn these. And he went and he goes, I'm going to get busted on purpose because that's where the training is.
I love that.
Yeah. No, and his amazing thing is he said, I saw America change through music. And he did. He helped do it. Okay, now what do you worry about when you go to bed at night?
You know what? It has changed over my life.
Yeah.
I could tell you what I used to worry about.
Yeah, both. Fine.
Now, man, I feel really comfortable in general, and I feel pretty secure, and that's just a great feeling because I used to worry about when I go to sleep at night, if I have something coming up, if I have an inspection that I have to deal with at one of the buildings that I manage, I might be thinking about things like that. Um, I used to head trip about, you know, if I have a gig that's, gigs that are not my gig, like if I'm a sideman, if I'm playing with Frankie or Sebastian or Dale or whoever it is, I don't really stress about that. Don't care about the size of the venue. It could be 20,000 people. It could be 2 people. I don't really stress about that. But if it's my gig, I used to trip about it. Everything's got to go a certain way. Now it's just like I realize that the most important thing is in everything almost ubiquitously is sincerity
Yeah.
and intention and just trying to have fun, but so I don't even trip about my own gigs anymore, because I just go into it like I want to have fun and I want to play music with my friends and that's it. So yeah, so these days I don't worry about much when I go to sleep. It used to be money, used to be stressing about gigs or getting another gig or whatever. But now, I mean, there are plenty of things that I could worry about. I could worry about. Obviously, there's loads of things to worry about now.
Yeah.
I see a lot of people. A lot of people right now currently are worried about the stock market that have no money in the stock market.
Yeah.
So it's like, why are you worrying about that? You don't have money in the stock market. You don't have. So why are you worrying about it? Do you still have a job? Good. Do your job. If you stay micro,
Yeah.
um, everything's cool. But when you zoom out and start worrying about Gaza and Ukraine and politics and the economy, then you trip out. But if you stay focused on your life, like I people walking down the street like moping with their $18 smoothie from Erewhon and walking up the Strand in Santa Monica, and it's like a Chamber of Commerce postcard day, and they're like, everything's terrible. I'm like, you might want to, but how can you? What 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 good is it going to do anyone?
Yeah.
Look at me and you, bro. We're having a great conversation.
Yeah.
We have a good outlet. I haven't always been like this. I've been an angry young man, and it's like, and I see, I see people out there stressed out and pissed off about things, and I want to just sit down with them and be like, man, it doesn't have to be like that. Like being like going for a walk in the morning is way better than going out and getting high. I mean, I'm not evangelical about my sobriety at all. But like, it's just like it's really opened me up to a better way to live. And I have arguments with people, but I never like hold grudges. I went out to
Yeah.
dinner with 3 mutual friends the other night, and we had a heated argument, but not like bad.
Right.
We were
Right.
arguing back and forth about some issues, and we were all enjoying it, and it's
Yeah.
great. That's the thing. It's like, I mean, for lack of a better, Tip O'Neill and Reagan would be like, ah, and then they go have.
I hate to
Like,
leave. It's so great.
It's we become what we behold, is what William Blake said.
Blake was a motherfucker.
Yeah. And so here we go, Andy. McLuhan learned from Ezra Pound, the poet, that artists are the antenna of the race. Musicians, they're broadcasting and detecting the hidden psychic effects of our inventions, so we might learn how to cope with what we don't like about our inventions. So, Andy, I asked you the question Marshall probed his whole career. Why do we ignore the hidden psychic effects of our inventions, even though the artists are broadcasting them to us?
I'm going to take that we as to be society in general, and not from the artist perspectives. I think because it's the lack of being able to tap into that stuff easily. And I think people are creatures of convenience and comfort. And if it's not easy, they don't want it. And there's a lot of work that goes into being able to tap into that mystical, magical shit, which is funny, and it's counterintuitive because kids are there immediately, and then they learn everything, and it's like full circle. You're born free. A cat walks across the piano, and it plays exactly what Cecil Taylor eventually got to, or if you listen to a piano concerto by that writes out as shit, and it's the third and 19th partial of a 31 note grouping in all 12 fucking keys at the same time. It sounds like absolute chaos, but so the cat just walks across the piano and does that, and then you have to be a genius and know how to subdivide
Right.
31 tablets to play the second, 17th and 13th partial of it. And then, but the point I'm trying to make by way of China is that kids have it immediately. And why they're talking about their imaginary friends and this esoteric, nonsensical shit. And then you organize your thoughts, go to school to get stupid, and then come back around, So, that.
No, that was really good, because Thelonious Monk said there are no wrong notes. And my friend, the greatest artist in Venice, said Monk heard all the same notes that Charlie Parker heard, but only decided to play some of them. But the second you said the cat on the piano, Cecil Taylor went in my head, and then all of a sudden you verbalized it. I mean, immediately. That was like psychic to the max. Andy,
Love it. I love it.
Do artists have moral obligation?
Certain artists. Man, God, these are excellent questions. And we could talk for hours on one of these, you know what I mean? So I'm trying to just move it along, but it's really thought-provoking stuff, I don't know whether Marvin Gaye was thinking of a moral obligation when he wrote What's Going On, the masterpiece, but it certainly resonated then and now for what and that's the thing. Great art, you could assign different meaning to it. It could be interpreted different ways, so someone like I don't know if Marvin set out to do something that was like overtly what's the word I'm looking for? Not controversial by any means. it was just so influential to society, you know.
Well, he was being an intent of the race. That was a perfect example because the flip is in that other Zappa documentary a few years ago, they used that line, I'll have a date with my cheerleader who will help with my paper. Later, I'll go home and rape her.
Right.
I was like, dude, you might be a little bit more sensitive about what lines you're putting in a 90-minute documentary in this day and age. But they didn't, and that was the beauty, because Frank was all balls out, and he's going to tell it like it is. And if you don't like it, so what? Go listen to fucking Barry Manilow.
Sure.
So
I mean, to that point, me, it's incredible the iterations we go through as humans, and especially when you become a parent. But like, I suppose that when I was living in New York, and if that song "Wet Ass Pussy" came out, then I would have thought, I mean, these artists are talented, and it just lacks to me. I mean, it's not to sound egalitarian by any means, but it's not really clever. It's just not. It's not clever. Like like you can. There's all kinds of innuendo in the songs from the past, and I don't recall exactly who that was. If it was Nick Minaj or I get confused because I'm it's just not my thing really. But I heard the song a lot, and at first it's like ooh, but it's like I'd rather listen to Joni Mitchell speak in metaphor, and I get the beats aren't the same and the production's not the same, and well, it's so immensely popular, and it's like well, you know what? It's very popular with all, and I'm just saying, it's really popular with every fly on Earth.
Yeah.
There you go.
No, that was good. Are you more afraid of new ideas or more afraid of old ideas?
Pretty much as it relates to burning books, I'm afraid of that. That's new and old.
There you go. That is good.
In regards to man, there's so many parallels that you could draw, that things that are just as germane now as they were in the 30s. I gotta watch what I say, man. But yeah, I think it's equal. Some of the worst ideas ever have already tried to be implemented multiple times. Still don't learn from our mistakes, in my opinion. And then there's things that I haven't even thought of that I'm sure are diabolical and horrifying. And contrary to that, there's things that are tried and true, that old ideas are just as good now as they were at their inception. Like there's nothing wrong ever with being nice to someone.
Kindness and family, man. Your 3 words: nice, kindness, and family. Pretty good for a hard-hitting drummer. Like
I don't hit.
Who's the artist in? Okay, we'll get into music eventually. Can you conjure up your earliest memory ever, or one of them?
Absolutely.
What is it?
Sitting on the carpet in my front hall in my house while my mom was on the phone, and the sun was coming through the window, and just thinking like, it's pretty cool being alive on Earth.
Is memory more a curse or more a blessing?
Both.
Yeah. Tell me someone within your immediate family who had an impact on you, and what specifically was that impact?
So many. I mean, I only have 2 living family members left. but I'm just gonna say, that my this is the stuff that gets me. My mom, she's still with us, and she's in a memory care facility. Um, she was so kind.
Yeah.
And it really didn't resonate, or not resonate. It really didn't have the impact on me until kind of recently, when I have to go and be very patient. My patience has gotten exponentially better over the last, dealing with her, her memory issues for 15 years now, but it's
Yeah.
really bad lately. So I'm having to become more of a patient person, which isn't in my nature. And I'm the impact of the way she was kind and patient and loving and nurturing to me as a kid. I'm trying to get better at that. So
Yeah.
47, 8, 9 years later,
Yeah.
that kindness, compassion, and just, sweetness that she showed me as a kid, I'm trying to bring that more into my life, because I've been an asshole for most of my life. Some people think I'm a great guy, some people don't, and that's going to happen whether you're Gandhi
Yeah.
or Joseph Stalin. But I do my best. But yeah, my mom, definitely, her kindness. I'm trying to manifest more of that in my life, because I think it's more important than we know, to be a good, nice person.
What an impact. And you articulated it so concisely, Andy. I appreciate that, because two things. One was Bleecker Bob said, "I'm not an asshole. I'm from New York." and then,
Really?
and then, but better yet is my mom used to say, "God, give me patience and give it to me now." But isn't that beautiful that your mom was patient and kind, and now she's teaching you how to do it with, and that's an amazing thing, to be aware of it and to articulate it. Now the same question outside your immediate family, someone who had an impact on you, and what specifically was that impact?
I'd say Pete Zeldman.
What'd you get from him?
Not only was he my drum teacher, and really close friend, also departed sadly. So many people gone, and it's just gonna keep going like that, isn't it? Although, but yeah, I mean, remember 10 years ago when people were just like dropping like flies? I mean, it started with like Michael Jackson, what? And then
What?
Prince, and Glenn Fry, and then Merle Haggard and Scott Weiland and Chris Cornell. It's enough, Jesus Christ. But yeah, Pete Zeldman, one of the greatest geniuses to ever hold sticks. He not only taught me a lot of amazing rhythmic concepts, and made me pretty equipped for almost anything. He was a friend, and we would just talk about everything, and
Yeah.
just his lilt on things. Um, uh, he was the master of complexity, uh, but he loved the Beatles. You
Yeah.
know, he loved simple things as much as he loved complex things,
Yeah.
which made such an impact on me, because everything is valid. You know,
Yes.
like, there's I know we're going to get to music eventually, or if we don't, that's okay, whatever. I'm enjoying the conversation, but um, everything is just as everything is like jazz guys kind of poo poo rock and roll, and
Yeah.
then you listen to a jazz guy try to rock, and it's kind of, I mean, not, of course there's always exceptions across the board,
Yeah.
but it's like Buddy Rich is like, rock and roll's better, and you hear Buddy play a rock track, and it's technically beautiful and amazing, and I'm not belittling Buddy Rich, but it's just like, yeah, that's cool, bro, but you're definitely not John Bonham, and not that I would want him to be either.
Right.
And I love the rambunctiousness, and like
Yeah.
how he would, like, on Carson, just be like, country music's dog shit, or whatever, however he phrased it. It's like me being obsessed, and as a kid, and I was lucky to see Buddy play, and it's like I didn't take that shit as gospel, because it's like,
Right.
hey, man, I like it. Sorry, I think Hank Williams music is amazing. I still do.
Yeah.
And I think it's just as amazing as listening to Buddy play on Big Swing Face, or any of the records that I grew up loving, or as amazing as listening to, I mean, I could go on about the most obscure shit that I listen to that no one knows other than like you, me, and two other people. But like, I could listen to Anthony Braxton, and obviously Frank, or Stockhausen, or whatever,
Or the Shags, Andy. When Morgan said, "Play me the Shags," and I played him, and he goes, "Does the drummer think she has a groove, or is she purposely playing bad?" I said,
is
"No."
that Morgan Ogren?
Yeah, I says, "No, she thinks she has a groove, and she does have a groove,
Yeah, yeah.
but it is in the technical mind." But see, that's the
Yeah, like
beauty of jazz.
all my friends that like all my friends that are like, Jedi musicians, and they're like,
Yeah,
snobby, whatever. I've been guilty at times of it, but not really that often. Like, my buddy Nick Mancini, great vibraphone player that I've known for like ever 30 something years. He lives in Tulsa now. The first time that we met, he was fresh out of Potsdam. I was fresh out of Berkeley, I think, or maybe it was even like this summer between high school and college. It was a long time. We were kids.
yeah,
He's We were going to play this gig on Long Island somewhere as teenagers, really green, really young. And I'm looking through his CDs, or actually, I think he had cassette tapes at the time. And Nick recalls the story more, but I remember him not being like completely like jazz, like you
yeah,
know, jazz police guy, like only fucking, Coltrane and Ornette and Miles, and all the Bill Evans and all the cats that like there was some AC/DC or some Zeppelin mixed in, and I'm
yeah,
like, cool, all right, I can hang with this dude, because man, it's like for me that's the whole deal, is like
yeah,
variety. Like, I like different sounds,
yeah.
better or worse. I always say I'm not the best at anything, but I'm pretty good at everything, and I'd rather
You
have.
are. You're really good, and you know how to incorporate Latin into rock and jazz too, better than many. But it's also someone we've talked about, because when I say, who's your favorite rock drummers, and they always want to say Bonham first, or they really, I'm asking them to say Mitch Mitchell first, because he's a jazz drummer, but he's playing rock. So that's where our rock kids learned jazz, but we didn't know we were learning jazz. It's like when we heard Chameleon by Herbie Hancock, we go, "Oh, that's jazz." We go, "If that's jazz, I like jazz."
Yeah, exactly.
And Mike Clark is a funk drummer. But
Well, that's Harvey Mason on that track on the
oh,
original.
Harvey Mason. Yeah, sorry.
But Mike's on the later record called
Yeah,
Thrust, which
yeah,
is just incredible.
yeah. Thank you for correcting me.
It's okay. I'm just a nerd.
But did your parents raise you a particular religion?
I was raised Roman Catholic.
Do you pray?
I do.
And
Not in a traditional way.
yeah,
I try to meditate every day, and I consider that my prayer.
yeah,
And I've recently come back to it, man. Like,
yeah,
When I first, I don't want to get too involved in it, but I used to not sleep so much, for various reasons. And when I first started uh, becoming able to sleep better again, um, not to say that I had some sort of like, spirit. I had like somewhat of like a realization that there's just way too many coincidences, and things that were I don't know if the word would be like unintentionally congruous, or there's just too many things that like, how like you look at a seashell, uh and then like you look at fractals and the Fibonacci series, and you look at the inside of a flower, and it's just like, okay, so it's like it's either all science and coincidence. And I'm not, I'm not saying that that's proof of God, but you know I loved Christopher Hitchens and Richard Dawkins and the Four
Yeah.
Apocalypse of the agnostic atheist writers that were just so intellectually thought provoking, and I loved it, loved it, loved it, loved it, loved it. And I went through periods where I was just like, "There's no fucking way," but you know what, man? Like, to me, prayer is just like being silent, still,
Yeah.
And just really just honestly, like, to get back to Paramahamsa Yogananda for a minute, like as you walk the gardens at Lake Shrine, there are these little signs on the side of the path. Um, and I'm paraphrasing, but one of them says something like, "There's no greater purpose in life than seeking God."
Yeah.
And I mean, whether you find God or not, I think you should at least look. It seems like a worthwhile endeavor. And that doesn't,
Duh. Yeah, that's
it does,
good. At least that's like my dad when health food came in the 60s. We go, Dad, don't eat that. That has preservatives. He goes, I need all the preservatives I can get. It's like, you touched on Pascal again. He said, we could solve all the problems in the world if you can just sit in a room and be quiet in solitude. If you could sit in a room in solitude, we could solve problems. So, if God does exist, what would you like God to say to you after you die?
well, see, that's the thing. I think that that's a big, obviously a massive question. Um, in that specific scenario that you're throwing out there, I'll just say, like, it's like, "Hey man, great to finally meet you. Love your work." It's me talking to him, and to just be like, "Yeah, man, I saw what you were doing, and there were some bumps along the way, but I could tell that you had good intentions, and you did your best, and you did a good job, and you were there for your family. You took care of your mother to the best of your ability. You loved your sisters and your father and your children, and you gave it your best shot. And you didn't act right a lot of the time, but you came around in the end, and that's why you're here."
Amazing. Really good, Andy. Do evil people exist, or does evil use people as a vehicle?
um Oof, again, maybe a combo, maybe a bit of each, but like, let's talk about the world heavyweight champions of evil, to the best of our knowledge. Let's talk about Mao. Let's talk about Joey Stalin, um, Idi Amin, Adolf Hitler, Vlad the Impaler. Let's just talk about those cats, right? I don't know an enormous amount about any of their childhood, you
Yeah.
know, um, but I would be willing to say that none of them started evil.
Yeah.
Um, I think I think our perspective now, with the ability of having, millennia of people studying things, for us to be like, well, that was clearly mental illness and undiagnosed. it's just like, we have a hard time dealing with life in 2025. I mean, look how badly twisted up everyone got over, you know, willfully staying indoors for a couple of years
Yeah.
because the pandemic. You know, whatever your take on it is, but like, you know, the misinformation that was, it's like pouring gas on a fire. You know,
Yeah.
so you have people that the sky is falling and and it's just like, and there's other people that are just like, oh, it's great. There's like no traffic, and I got to spend time with my family, and you know, maybe you know, it's perspective. So like, undiagnosed mental illness in the time of in Africa in the early part of last century uh, might have caused Idi Amin to like completely, you know, lose all the just lose all value for human life and not care about butchering people, or like Joseph Stalin with like his idea that he was touting and letting half of his population starve, or more than half, not exactly are, but you know, or Hitler being the psychopath that he was, you know, drug addled and just the most deplorable things that human beings have ever done. You know, the list goes on. But the thing of it is like when you start thinking about evil in general, it's like, do I think every, you know, like like take the Bolshevik situation in Russia, like they killed, you know, all the Christians, you know, the Hitler thing. Like, do you think everyone that killed everyone, all of those people, every single one of them was evil from the jump? There's no way all of them were evil from the
Yeah.
jump. They got basically brainwashed into an ideology and were carrying out orders.
Yeah.
There's a ridiculous movie from 30 years ago called Clerks, and they're
Yeah.
having station. Like, do you think the people that were like the independent contractors who were working on Death Star when it exploded, did they deserve to die? And it's like, well, if you take the contract to work for the evil galactic empire, right there, it's like, you know, you're on the wrong side of the fence. And when they blow that thing up, and you know, you're just there, just like, you know, turning on a some kind of a turbine for the tractor beam. I mean, you got your ratchet, and then you blow up, and it's like, oh, you were just doing a job. It's like, yeah, but you were doing a job for the
Yeah.
bad guy. So, you know, maybe you deserve to die. But it's just like, man, I was just trying to feed my family. But that's like saying, hey, just step in here. These are showers. And then, you know, it's like
Yeah.
that following orders. It's like, yeah, you got to try to live a good life. So to get back to your question, is like, is evil, you know, uh, I don't think anyone's born evil.
Right. I mean, everybody's a lot. The answer I get a lot, Andy, is what you're leaning towards is everyone's capable of doing evil things. Yeah. But here's the follow-up. Nassim Taleb said games were created to give non-heroes the illusion of winning. In real life, we don't know who wins or loses, but we can tell who a hero is. Gregory Bateson says if the criminal gets caught, does he go, whoa, my criminal skills weren't up to snuff that day? Or does he go, oh, I did something morally and socially wrong? So again, it's a lot of prompts, but the basic question is, does punishment work?
I think it does.
Yeah.
I think if you get caught stealing a bar of gold and then you're brought before your peers, it's like, which hand did you steal with? This one? Cut the guy's hand off. Not a lot of people gonna be stealing bars of gold anymore. You know, when you turn the other way and let people steal up to $1,000 worth of merchandise from a CVS, a lot of people are going to steal from CVS.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's certain things, not to get political by any means, but when that was happening, I was like, I'm sorry, I can't get on board with that.
Well, here's the follow-up to that then, Andy. How do you advise someone to deal with an enemy? And this was a couple prompts before. In This is Alan Watts. If you acknowledge your enemy, you empower them. Coppola stole from the mob and the samurai. Keep your friends close and your enemies closer. JFK said, forgive your enemy, but don't forget their name. And Fellini says, I need an enemy. So again, it's a lot of prompts. The basic question is, how do you advise someone to deal with an enemy? But first, how would you respond to Alan Watts? If you acknowledge your enemy, you empower them.
First of all, with the exception of Alan Watts, there's a lot of Italians on that list, which,
Good observation. You are a good listener, Andy. Thank you. A lot of Italians. I didn't realize.
Let's hear it for another great Italian, ladies and gentlemen. Work out, Warren. I mean, Alan Watts. I love his work so much that he's on my sampler, and I often play his clips during my gigs, and then I'll put a phaser on it or some weird effect. But yeah, I mean, how do I? The question is how do I deal with enemies?
Yeah.
I try not to have them, but sometimes they just emerge, and the way I go about dealing with people that I think are out to either gain access to my life to try to further theirs in some way, or a lot of it, in my experience, my so-called enemies have emerged from people being either, there's a few things, wanting to be interweaved in my life, wanting to be friends with me and try to infiltrate my life without being invited in, kind of forcing themselves in, and me being like having to back off, or people being jealous and wanting to somehow derail me because they feel that maybe I haven't suffered enough. And shouldn't have what I have that I've worked really hard for, which I don't, I'm very grateful for all that I have. Is it enough? Is it ever enough? Who knows? Would what I have right now be enough if I had what I have now and I lived in Boise? It sure would. If I lived in Toledo, I'd have more than enough, but I live in California. So people see things and think that you're living a certain way, or they might see you playing in a venue and, oh, he must be this or he must be that. And so they might want to knock you down a couple of notches. So they'll either try to like say something shitty about you online, or do something to kind of derail you, maybe talk shit about you so that you might not get hired or something, or just make up some lies about you. Things. Fortunately, that hasn't happened to me very much, but I mean, things do happen. The worst thing is if I feel like someone's threatening my family in a weird way, then I have the proclivity to potentially be very Italian, and I can get really dark and, alpha. And I just, for anyone that's listening out there, I would never advise you to do anything that compromises my family. That's why I'll talk about how much I love my family, but I won't give too many details, because people that are like, anyway, for me, how do I deal with enemies? I try to avoid having enemies.
Yeah.
If I am in a situation that's work related or something where I can't avoid seeing someone that I'm not really wanting in my life, then I'm never going to let anyone know that they're my enemy. So like, keep close and your enemies closer. I will know their names because you have to be perceptive in order to be able to gauge threats. But anyway, the long and short of it is I try not to make enemies. I try not to, I try not to dwell in it. But I distance myself and try not to be around them. There's people flipped on me out of jealousy, like wanting to be my friends and me not really reciprocating and just being like, no thanks, I'm busy.
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
Andy, very good. James Joyce was the first projectionist in Dublin 100 years ago. He basically checked out. He said, this is stupid. Why should I go inside a building and see a movie of a tree when I can go outside and see a real tree. Years later, Faulkner said sometimes the best fiction is more true than journalism. Why do we have to recreate things in order to get them? Why do we have to go to a theatrical play of people acting out life? Why don't we just live life? Good laugh.
Well, because without art, I mean, this is a quote from someone who I don't know. It's like life without art is pointless, or like some
Yeah,
phrase.
yeah,
But again, it's like Joni Mitchell. Cut all the trees down, put them in a tree museum, charge everyone $1.25 just to see them. Rhyming museum with see 'em. Come on, Joni, like the goddess of Earth.
yeah.
We could elect a queen of Earth. She would be it, as far as I'm concerned. But because, man, like uh, life is going to get lived on your terms, off your terms, whether you want it or not. Uh, but but art and theater is a way to kind of escape. Um, when I go and see my daughter, loves musical theater, kind of to my chagrin. It's like, like, again, I'm like, oh, I'm good at everything, but not the best at everything. The one thing that I was always like, I'm not going to really bother trying to infiltrate Broadway. I know it's good money and I know it's cool. I'm just like kind of not interested. My daughter gets interested. Me being a supportive father, therefore I get interested in it. And then it's like, okay, so I start going to see all these plays over the last couple of years, and and I, with a good attitude, with an open heart, and it just turns out it's amazing. And I'm like, wow,
Yeah.
this is incredible. And it's like, okay, would I rather would I rather every play that I see be Joe's Garage and Thingfish? Yeah. Which, by the way, I'm so disappointed in the people that make films that no one's ever really. I mean, with the exception of the production of Joe's Garage that happened 17 years ago on Santa Monica Boulevard, that they did
I interviewed all these questions to the producer of that show.
It's like, why isn't there a major, they Joe's Garage, or even Thingfish less, but it's a lot of incredible thematic material and things,
Yeah,
amazing stuff. But Joe's Garage just would be so fun.
yeah.
It just it's if they did it right, it would be chef's kiss, incredible. But I digress. The point is like, you know, life without art. I mean, I can't imagine life without music.
Yeah.
Like, there's enough beauty in life without anything, and there's enough music in life without actual music. The ocean, the birds, this, that, the other thing. But as Frank said, it often goes back to Frank. It's just like, you got to decorate the air, man.
Yeah.
It's like, thank God that Picasso existed. Thank God that Monet existed. Thank God that
Yeah.
Dali and Renoir. Life is so much more rich. The fucking
Yeah.
parade. It's a calliope of fucking just beauty, nonstop beauty, amazing things to see, hear, touch, taste. Food can be art. I mean, like, life without art is
Culinary art.
not worth living as much without as it is with. I mean, that's it's everything, man. I mean, and I'm not as artistic as I'd like to be all the time, because the bottom line is, like, I have responsibilities that I gladly take on. But man, I'll tell you what, while I'm running to the bank or running to the post office or going to an inspection or going to Home Depot or hiring a vendor to put a new roof on a building, or, whatever, you bet your ass that I'm cranking, some great music, or listening to some thought provoking, podcast, or just like, or just stopping and just being like, man, look at that freaking crazy Jurassic Park looking bush on the side of the road that I'm going to take.
Beautiful.
Like, being from New York and coming to California, warts and all, for better or worse. Like, I have friends that have left and, like, I couldn't take it anymore. It's like, well, you know what, man, I love it here.
Yeah.
I've always been obsessed with California, and it's still it's still magnificent to me. Just like topographically speaking, I used to get in a car accident, almost get in a car accident, because I'd be looking at the hills and
Yeah.
like, this is incredible, and then like you see these bushes that look like they're like that they look like they've been irradiated because they're so big, like those crazy plants. I took a picture of
Yeah.
it on IG the other day, and they have that crazy the thing that comes out of the middle that grows like
Like Dr. Seuss.
it's
Yeah.
insane,
Yeah.
So to me,
Well, it leads perfectly, Andy, into
that's
this.
art too.
Yeah. What is your call? What is your tipping point for your calling to be music and drums? You're going along in grade school. Are you starting to study? Did you pick the instrument because your parents told you, or you picked it on your own? Just walk us through the tipping point that where music and drums became your calling.
I mean, it's totally cliche. I mean, I've said this in other interviews over the years, but like, it's a very common cliche. Like my tolerant, sweet mother would be in the kitchen doing dishes and cooking, being super mom in our house. I would open up the cabinets, I'd pull out the pots and pans, flip them over, and beat the piss out of them with wooden spoons, you know, and then, one day we were at a mutual friend's house down the street, and it was in summer, there's a pool party. And like I went in to go use the bathroom, and a bunch of the kids at my buddy Duke's house were sitting around this drum kit, this little red sparkle drum kit. I remember it. And they're all trying to play, and it was just like sounded like pushing the drums down a flight of stairs. And I just sat down I would go, "Can I try?" And they're like, "Yeah, whatever, kid." I was probably in second or third grade. I sat down at the drums and I could just play them. Like I could remember the exact beat I played. Like, and it was like everyone was like, "How do you know how to do that?" And I'm like, "I don't know. I could just do it. I could just do it." And I loved it immediately. And then the same kid whose house we were at, I remember he had tape. Like, I was already listening to my sister's 8 tracks, listening to Led Zeppelin and the Doors and the Beatles and the Stones. I remember going to music class in second grade. Miss Tortorella, another Italian. It was like show and tell. So I remember bringing in my first stack of LPs that I bought with my own money. I think it was like a greatest hits Rolling Stones record, High Tide, Green Grass, AC/DC for Those About to Rock, AC/DC Highway to Hell. I think those. I think those are the first three that I got. And my sisters were like, "Man, you're listening to." My sisters were older than me. They're like, "You're listening to the Stones and AC/DC and all this is Led Zeppelin in second grade." They're like, "What the hell are you going to be listening to when you're our age?" And so yeah, it wasn't a moment. It was just always there.
Yeah.
Just
So
exactly years.
let's go to you as a composer because you have your own band, you write music. A screenwriting teacher told me great art is when you can clearly see the intention of the maker. Kubrick says the opposite. Great art is when you can clearly not see the intention of the maker. What role does intention play in your creative process when you're writing a song, not as a commission or an assignment, but writing an Andy song? What role does intention play?
Um, again, that's one of the pillars. That's one of my pillars. Intention and sincerity. Again, this is coming from someone that likes to goof around and have fun, but again, variety. I like all of the things. I like to be serious. I like goofy. I like to be fun. I like to be happy. I like to be crazy and effusive and argumentative, but it's all in good spirit. So, as far as it applies to my writing, which I haven't written an enormous amount of music, a couple, 2, 3 records worth of stuff. Unlike like Frank, that was prolific, just writing machine, or Bach. Not to compare myself to them. I'm just saying, like, they were composers. That's what they did. I'm more of a. I mean, again, I sure do say again a lot, but I think it's better than saying like or um, like. I think that I'm a combination of a craftsman as well as an artist. You know,
Yeah.
I like the function of my instrument. I like to play grooves. I like to accompany people. I also like to, you know, express myself as thoroughly as possible whenever I, you know, get the opportunity to. But as far as writing goes, I kind of it's I don't really consider myself a composer, although I've written dozens of tunes. I don't
But
do it.
Andy, that was good, but it's also Duchamp said there's no art without an audience. When you're writing a song again
Hmm?
for yourself, how much are you thinking of your listener?
I just write what I like.
Yeah.
I'm not thinking of my listener, although I'm not trying to alienate or exclude anyone. I want people to like what I write, and
Yeah.
I'm kind of got a buddy of mine that I respect a lot that I don't play with that often, but he's a lovely gentleman, a local musician, and like out of the blue, like a few months ago, he's like, "Man, your song came up on my shuffle," and he's like, "It's such a great tune," and I'm like not to like not false humility. Like I'm like, really, you think so? Like, because I don't think, I mean, like, man, God, the guys that I listen to, the guys that I love, I mean, Lee Morgan, Wayne Shorter, you
Yeah.
know, guys, Mingus, like these guys are composers, man. Dude,
Yeah.
you know, Joe Zawinul, I mean, God, this Herbie, you know, Train, Miles, Bill Evans, these guys write songs that
Yeah.
you know, Kenny Wheeler, Jan Gar, just these guys write these most beautiful. So when I sit down to write, I really do like it. I just don't do it very often, and I want to do it more because to me that's kind of, again, Frank, people like that that are real composers. They figured out early on that, like, you know, Weedly, whatever. Like, what's the song, man? You know.
But Andy, I think, I want to ask you to please do a part two because we're at the 90-minute point and we didn't get into music. I have one more music question, and then maybe in part two we can really get deeper into that, because just in regards to what you just said, you are composing when you're improvising and taking your solo, because there's one YouTube video of you taking these solos on the Train song and it's amazing. And that is part of composing on the spot.
Oh, you're
And
about that Equinox thing with Scott
yeah,
Henderson.
yeah. So I mean, there is more to it, but I understand what you're saying. Just to be able to write the songs you have done and not just be a player
I,
is
I
a
do like.
tribute to your talent. But this is again a McLuhan thing. Everything we invent extends some humanness, like knife and fork extends our teeth, shutter and a camera or a projector extends our eyelid, and maybe even say non-tangible, say religion or philosophy extends consciousness. What does the drumstick extend for you? And in regards to the drums, what are the drumsticks and drum, what humanness do they extend?
Well, I would hope that it extends my soul,
Yeah.
and I don't mean that in um like a like soul meaning like the genre soul. I just
Yeah.
mean again, everything comes back to intention and sincerity, like the
Yeah.
intention of my overall being. Like that's what I'm trying to convey. Like I want you to feel what I'm feeling. Best of my ability to communicate it to you.
Yeah. Well, Andy, this has been a delight, man. I've done this for 40 years and you're one of the best, because see, what I want to do is get deeper and not just people say their stock lines and just chalk it off as like a Q&A. Like Frank said, being interviewed is like the Inquisition. It's more like, hey, we're just sitting here having fun.
Yeah.
And so we can plan it, 4 or 5 months down the line, but I really hope we can plan a part two. And I really want to thank you for all your music and all your times together. And even though I'm going to hit the end broadcast button now, I hope this never ends and we can keep talking forever and ever.
I enjoyed talking to you very much, Jerry. Thank you for having me. My love to you and Susie. And yeah, we'll do it again soon.
Thank you so much, Andy. Love you, man.
Love you too.
Bye.